Hello, I'm Ryan McEachran, and welcome to The Dig. On this episode, we will be talking to Jean-Philippe Ma from Dundies Sustainable Technologies. But first, we have our own Stephanie Alvarez to share some important information with us. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Ryan, and thank you. Well, first, I want to mention we are open for new members. If you would like to grow your business in the mining industry, you can contact us at membership@mstacanada.ca. Also, if you would like to share your story here on the show, email us at thatdig@mstacanada.ca. And finally, Ryan, I'm very excited to let everyone know about our next webinar with the Brazilian team from mining giant ArcelorMittal. They will be sharing the procurement needs, but also they will be talking about some very interesting topics I will let you know later on in the show.
Thanks, Stephanie. We look forward to hearing from you later in the show. Over the past decade, license to operate has become the most important topic discussed in mining company boardrooms. Terms such as CSR, corporate social responsibility, ESG, environment, social, and governance, and principles like the Mining Association of Canada's TSM, towards sustainable mining, all look to measure a company's effectiveness in what is best referred to as responsible mining. One company that provides solutions within this context is Dundies Sustainable Technologies. And joining us now is Jean-Philippe Ma. Hi, JP. Welcome to The Dig.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. Before we get talking about some of your solutions right now, I've been asking some of the other companies, how have you been managing through this COVID crisis so far?
Well, I think like all companies, we definitely needed to adapt and adapt rapidly. But overall, I think we coped quite well. We were lucky that we had a lot of work lined up coming into the COVID. So and most of our work was engineering related, so we were able to bridge this downtime and allow for most of our staff to remain active. Even though we had to put people on temporary unemployment for a few weeks, and thankfully, because of the provincial and federal support, we're able to keep most people active. And no, it's been quite a ride, I have to say, but I think overall we're doing well.
Excellent. So with that kind of stuff, and you mentioned the government programs and you were able to take advantage of them. How about PPE? Was that a challenge to acquire?
We're an R&D center. We work with deleterious material on a daily basis. So PPE is a big part of our day-to-day life. So we did have some stock, and we did share that with the public health authority in the event that some of the health system in Quebec would need some of our support. But we were able to carry on with the stocks that we had. So it hasn't really been an issue for us.
What I want to do right now is kind of switch to some of your recent press releases. Some pretty impressive results, I would think you must be happy about. Could you expand a little more about what that press release is about with the Clever process, and elaborate a little more about what the process is?
Yes, no, of course. This obviously this is great news. We're always pretty excited when we get to publish some of our results. The Clever process is a process which has been developed by Dundee Technologies for quite some time. We really started with the development of the process around 2009, 2010, where the process was first developed at the lab scale, and then we were able to scale it up at the piloting scale. And in 2015, 2016, we completed the construction of our first industrial size demonstration plant, which is located in Thetford Mines at Quebec. So essentially, Clever process is is a gold extraction hydrometallurgical process, which is completely cyanide free. So we use sodium hypochlorite with a catalytic amount of sodium hypobromite to put the gold into solution. So the chemistry is vastly different. We work at very low pH, 1.5 pH, so in acidic condition at ambient temperature and pressure. So what that does, it allows us to put gold into solution very rapidly. So typically within a 1 hour, 2 hour contact time at most, we have gold in solution as a gold chloride at the outlet of our process.
That's interesting, because that's what you mentioned also in the press release, that you had over 95% recovery rate within an hour, and you ended up with tailings that were effectively inert. It sounds like it's a trifecta.
Yeah, no, the overall approach and mentality behind the development of the process was really to leave nothing behind, to make sure that we are recycling all of our regions. So the process is in completely enclosed loop. All of the chloride and bromide species are recycled. To do this, we use an electrolysis cell to regenerate the hypochlorite and the hypobromide. So there's no liquid effluent to the process. So in reference to the particular press release which we announced, this was an oxide ore, so very little sulfur traveling with the material. And also, because we are in oxidizing environment, any residual sulfur gets oxidized into sulfate, so the tailings are essentially barren. When it comes to higher sulfide content, such as concentrates, where we have sulfide contents in the 20s and 30%, we do use an oxidation pretreatment. In our case, we tend to favor a fluid bed roaster, which allows us to remove the sulfur content, recover the SO2, and we can transform it into an sulfuric acid byproduct or scrub it with gypsum. So at the end of the day, what that allows us to do is to ensure that the tailings from the process are inert and non-toxic.
Excellent. And in comparing it to the traditional part, like with cyanide process, you had over 95%. The cyanide was just 67%, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's it's not always that big of a gap, I have to say, but usually we tend to favor to compare ourselves quite favorably. The extractions with using Clever are usually a couple percent more. In this case, it was quite significant. And how we explain this is really with the chemistry of the process. Being in acidic condition at very low pH, that allows us to dissolve additional matrix such as the iron matrix, and allows us to free and to achieve better yields. So we're sort of adding a chemical grinding to the process, which in turn allows for additional gold yields.
And to the name, it sounds like a real clever process. So what seems to be the largest challenge or for industry to be adopting this? You said you've been working on it since 2009, 2010. Can you elaborate? What seems to be some of the hurdles that you've been working on?
Well, first, introducing new technologies to the mining industry is always a bit of a challenge. In our case, we're proposing a completely new approach to recover gold, a complete alternative to cyanide. So some of the challenges are really, we need to educate the industry and make sure that the people are aware that there are alternatives, such as the Clever process, where we have, since 2009, we're able to really scale up the process to a small but industrial size operation. And that in turn also provides us with a lot of operational data on different type of material. And in introducing processes in the gold industry, it takes time. Once you do change critical aspects of the flow sheet in any project, such as the gold recovery, it does have an impact on the whole project. Just simply the fact of changing the recovery percentage in an overall project, to really see the benefits, you need to assess the overall project. What is the impact on the footprint? Because if you're getting gold into solution in 1 or 2 hours as opposed to 36 or 48 hours, it does have an impact on the footprint of the plant. It can have an impact on the mine plan and the pit optimization. So to have a proper assessment of the process, you need to look at the overall project. And to do this, we work with the clients, with the mid-tiers and major miners, and you really need to work with their group to really have access to all this data to really quantify and see the benefits of the process. So this does take time, especially for Clever. We're not looking at retrofitting existing cyanide operations. We're really looking for development projects for new builds. So the timeline for any gold projects to go from development to production or resource development all the way to production, it does take time. So we've been active with some of our partners and clients for years now at really having them educate them on our process and seeing the impact on different development projects which they might have.
Right. So let's switch over to now the glass lock process. Again, you have some recent news about it. Can you elaborate a little more about that press release and a little bit about what the glass lock process is as well?
Yeah, no, glass lock is it's definitely been an important driver for a company in the past years. And if I can take a few steps back, essentially we really started with the development of the Clever. And when you're developing a gold process, people always send you their worst material. So we've developed an expertise in dealing and handling complex ores. And very often the complexity and the refractory nature of the gold ores comes with the encapsulation of the gold within sulfide structures such as arsenopyrite. So through our oxidation pretreatment, we decompose the sulfide structure and recover the arsenic when present as an arsenic trioxide. So we weren't really happy with what the industry had to offer in terms of arsenic stabilization approaches. So this is what forced us and drove us to develop the glass lock process, which is essentially the stabilization of arsenic through vitrification. So we use a pyro approach to encapsulate and vitrify the arsenic content into a stable glass product. We do this by first creating an intermediate compound, which is stable at the melting temperature of glass, which allows us to incorporate high percentage of arsenic within the glass product without volatilizing too much of the arsenic. So as opposed to the Clever process, the glass lock process can be readily implemented in existing operations that are producing arsenic waste, which need stabilization or remediation.
And so this press release with this copper smelter, they've obviously appreciated and saw the value of it because they've tied you into an exclusivity for a year. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is definitely great news. That's a partner that we've been working on with for years, where we in 2017, 2018, we constructed our first industrial demonstration plant for the glass lock process, which we partially built in Canada and partially on site, and then we delivered and commissioned the plant at the end of 2018, and gone through an operation phase throughout 2019 on site at the smelter, stabilizing arsenic trioxide smelter dust on site. So we've had some good results as part of the operation phase, and that then yielded and led to the exercise of a moratorium period by the client, which grants them the exclusivity on a yearly basis of the glass lock process specific to the copper smelting industry. So we definitely see this as a positive sign, first of the need and the benefit of our approach in the industry. So it's definitely been a good news for us and for our shareholders.
Right, and if I remember, you actually have this product as a bed inside your aquarium in your office.
Yeah, that's correct. We sort of have used it as a live experience where we had an aquarium in our head office, and we lined the bottom with arsenic glass to demonstrate the insolubility of the glass product. And I can assure you, no fish was harmed. So we had this aquarium for over 4 years, and the challenges were not related to the arsenic glass, but more to the management of the aquarium itself.
Right. But to your point, you mentioned arsenic trioxide, and for some of our viewers that may not know, it's very mobile in water, and I guess that's kind of one of the concerns that that we have in terms of the environment. And you also mentioned that glass lock can be, unlike your approach with Clever, it can be used on existing assets. So is there, in one of your press releases recently too, you talk about being able to apply it to existing or old tailings. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, when the industry has been very creative at first separating the arsenic from the sulfide ore when dealing with arsenopyrite gold deposits. But historically, a lot of that arsenic trioxide, due to a lack of efficient and viable process for stabilization, a lot of arsenic trioxide has been buried or been put back on the ground into stopes. And these historic or legacy dust are now a huge liability throughout the world. And in Canada, we do have a good example with the giant mine in the Northwest Territory. And this is one project where our process Glasslock applies and can efficiently stabilize that product. So we've initiated just recently a first phase project with the Giant Mine Oversight Board to test the applicability of the Glasslock process on the arsenic trioxide that has been stored on the ground at the Giant Mine. That's
exciting. And if we look at the Glasslock process as well, it's not just about encapsulating arsenic. It can be some other nasty elements, if I will use that term.
Well, arsenic is the main component. I think that is really being an issue in the industry these days. But arsenic does, very often does not travel alone. Antimony is one of them, and the antimony usually is in lesser quantity than the arsenic, but the antimony does also travel and gets stabilized within the glass matrix. So that's another upside for our process, is that the arsenic and the antimony can be stabilized. So the stability of the glass product is an important driver for the Glasslock process, and the cost. This is like in any project, this has been the main driver of our process, is that we really are a fraction of the costs when compared, for example, to ferric arsenate or crystalline ferric arsenate such as scorodite, which can be very expensive because when starting with an arsenic trioxide, you need to oxidize it to an arsenic pentoxide, and you need a good iron to arsenic ratio to really generate that crystalline scorodite. And the cost can be in excess of $2,000 per ton of arsenic. Wow. Yes, and we are a fraction of that cost. So that has been really the key driver, along with the stability of the product.
Right. So what can we expect from Dundee Sustainable Technologies in the future here?
Well, we're right now we are in full commercialization of both process, both the Clever and the Glasslock process. So we will continue to work with project developers, mid-tier and major miners at demonstrating how can our process yield unlock value and benefit the project. I think we're in an era in the mining industry where it's important for any project to look at all options and to look at what would be the best approach to be efficient, because reducing contact and reducing footprint, reducing cost, and increasing stability of the product, I think it goes into providing a more efficient processing approach, and it helps the project. So we're going to continue to work with our partners, and we definitely want to welcome any new opportunities. We're not a black box. We like people to understand exactly what we're doing. We also like to work with numbers. So we welcome to test any material and to explore metallurgical program to really have people and project developers understand what's out there in terms of alternative processing approaches.
Well, it sounds like it's a really exciting time for Dundee Sustainable Technologies with especially these two solutions. So it's been a real pleasure having you on the show, JP, and you take care of yourself.
Great. Thank you very much, Ryan. That was a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on The Dig. But before we leave, let's bring back Stephanie to provide us that information on the webinar. Stephanie?
Hi, Ryan. So the webinar with ArcelorMittal will be next June 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will be talking about their digital industry transformation, their mining lab, and of course, the procurement needs they have. To join the webinar, you just have to email me at alvarez@mstacanada.ca.
Excellent, Steph. Thank you very much. And until next time, I'm Ryan McEachran. Take care and stay safe.